Hi guys, I hope you're well. In this video I want to discuss meal plans and if it fits your macros, flexible dieting. Now I actually did a video on this probably about 2 years ago, and my stance at the point was flexible dieting is more superior than meal plans, but the reality is there's pros and cons of both, and my stance still is favouring the flexible dieting if it fits your macros. But I think it's important to note that for certain individuals to begin with, a meal plan may be a useful tool, and a good example of that would be an absolute beginner, someone that doesn't really have a clue how to track calories and macronutrients, by having some calorie and macronutrient targets but then some example meal plans for that particular individual to see how the meals have been put together, to gain some consistency by following those meals and having a little bit more structure to begin with, and then they could potentially transition into more of a flexible approach. I think it's a great way to go. So for example, when I'm working with clients, this is pretty much exactly what I'll do. I'll have the calories and macronutrient targets specific to their goals, but in addition to that I'll also have example meal plans based upon foods they're already eating and foods they enjoy, which is based on the information I gained from the questionnaire. So the meals are actually specific to their preferences and the foods they're already eating, which shrinks the change. They're not making any dramatic changes, but the quantities are matched to their calorie and macronutrient targets. But at the same time, one of the goals of the coaching is really to try and get them away from the meal plan and actually making decisions for themselves, making flexible choices, letting their personal preference dictate their food choices as long as they stay within the calorie and macronutrient targets. So I do think that meal plans can have its place for a beginner, but as long as the goal is to educate that individual to then make flexible choices in the future, I don't think the meal plan approach is a sustainable approach, but it can be a useful tool to begin with as long as you transition from that to more of a flexible approach, allowing their preferences to dictate food choices. The other important thing to point out is the flexibility should just be subject to that person's preference. So some people generally like having the same meals almost daily, which is like myself. I have very similar meals almost every day, whereas other people like a lot more variety. They like having different breakfasts, different lunches, different snack options all the time. So I think that's another important point, is to allow that person to choose whether they want to have the same meals all the time or whether they want more of a flexible approach. And I think that's probably the key premise of why flexible dieting, if it fits your macros, is so beneficial, because it allows you to do either. You can just eat similar foods every single day if that's your preference, as long as it meets your daily targets. And on the flip side, you have individuals that prefer more variety, and it allows that person to do that as well, because you've got the framework of the calories and macronutrients. So this was really just a follow-up video from that video I did about 2 years ago. For the most part, flexible dieting is better in the long run, but at the same time, meal plans do have their place initially for an absolute beginner, as long as they have those daily calorie and macronutrient targets as well, and then they can see how those meals are being put together to meet those targets, and they can learn to simply interchange those foods for other foods to meet those daily targets as well. So hopefully you've enjoyed this, hopefully this has been useful. If you're still yet to subscribe to the channel, please do like the video. I've enjoyed it, and I look forward to speaking to you soon. Take care.